Hello everyone, please could we all get in a circle and we will then start the workshop once we're all in a circle. Okay, so this workshop today is going to be all about Antonin Artuad, his techniques, why he believed theatre should be performed the way that he did, and the sort of man he was. So, Artaud believed that humans were evil, that the world that we lived in was evil, and he used theatre almost as a weapon to peel back the sort of illusions that the world has put on our eyes to make us think that what we're seeing is okay. He wanted to peel that back and sort of reveal the truth through his theatre, and it was very invasive. It was very, there wasn't a lot of personal space. The actors were all over the place. There was mechanical noises, screaming, stuff. He wanted his audience to feel uncomfortable. He wanted them to sort of feel a bit overwhelmed and a bit sensory overloaded. So there'd be lots of harsh lighting, loud noises. And he also, one of his main sort of principles was that he thought dialogue didn't need to be as important as it was. He believed that it's sort of, scripts would limit an actor and a performance. So he opted for more, words should be physical sounds rather than actually things that have meaning and sort of hold weight and substance. So for this first exercise, I'm going to need you to all think of a word, sort of an adjective, like cold, hot, heavy, sort of anything along those lines. And I'm going to need you to express that word through not only vocal sort of ways, but also physical. So if you're cold, you're going to be shivering, so cold, like sort of with vocal inflections and also physical actions. And then everyone's just going to do that. And then I'm going to say, well, what did we learn from that exercise? And then hopefully people will tell me what they learned. And then I'll sort of finish it off by saying, Artaud was right in the way of words don't need to be words to still convey the same meaning. And sometimes physical sounds do convey more meaning than words. And then that's exercise done. And then the next exercise, I'm going to have handouts. So let's carry on. So everyone, the next exercise I'm going to want you to do is across the room, you'll notice there are pieces of paper dotted all around. I'm going to need you to find one of those. There's enough for everyone. Turn it up. And on this paper is going to be an impossible task. This is the second exercise. There will be an impossible task that you are going to need to try your hardest to do, and you can't give up, as no matter how hard this is and no matter how tired you may be and how strenuous and how exhausted, you can't give up until this impossible task is completed. And on the cards that people would have would be stuff like take a brick out of the wall, like remove the door, stuff that really is not doable. And then now that that's done, we're going to have a talk about nightmares. And so now everyone, now that that's done, how do we all feel? And then hopefully people will say that they feel tired. And I'll be like, this exercise helps Artaud's actors because he wanted actors to almost be in pain. He wanted them to be as fatigued and as tired and exhausted as someone who's just run a marathon. He wanted his actors to really, really push themselves. And so this exercise really helps to convey that. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to have a talk about nightmares. And then I'm going to get everyone to go and talk about a nightmare that they've had or an experience with a nightmare, or just when I say nightmare, what does that make them think of? and that's going to be a whole conversation. And now that everyone has sort of got that image in their head, I'm going to want you all to split into groups of 2 to 3 and perform and direct your own little nightmare sequence. It can be as outlandish or as absurd as you want. This is your nightmare, these are your feelings and thoughts. And then I'm going to give you 15, 20 minutes, maybe less, maybe more time to do that. So when everyone has done their little sequences, I'm going to say, okay, now can we all get back together as a group? And I'm going to line you all up in your groups, and you're all going to take it in turns performing your nightmare sequences down the line. So, and that will show that Artuad's theatre was overwhelming. It wasn't a relaxing day out if you went to see an Artuad show. And now that that exercise is done, the final exercise is I'm going to need everyone, with all those weird thoughts of all these nightmares and all these things that everyone's thinking, I'm going to ask you all to perform a human sacrifice. Artuad's theatre was very ritualistic. It was he would perform human sacrifices in his plays, and I'm going to ask you to all do this. Any context, if you need any ideas, I've got a couple. We could be, you're a civilization, you're a tribe. I want it to be as loud and as outlandish as possible. And then when that exercise is done, I'm going to perform a cool down, so like stretching and everything. And then I'm going to say to people, sort of give, like the conclusion of the workshop will sort of be like now that everyone, does everyone feel like they have a good understanding of Artuad's techniques, where they come from, what they stemmed from? And this is why he believed that theatre meant the way it did. And when he says theatre of cruelty, he doesn't mean inflicting cruelty on his audience. He doesn't mean actually putting them through physical pain. And he doesn't mean being mean to them. He means sort of opening their eyes to the cruelty of the world, the cruelties that are all around them, sitting next to them, when they go home, when they walk past on the street. There are cruelties all around. And theatre of cruelty is a way for Artuad and any other actor to sort of peel back false illusions and see the world for how it really is. Thank you for coming to my presentation.